All right, welcome back to the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Rich Walsh in for Bob Pompiani tonight. Everyone loves Marc-Andre Fleury. Everyone wants him back. I think all Pens fans want him back. His cap hit's the same as Jarry, right? But I think the problem with bringing someone back like Marc-Andre Fleury, someone like Jarry, will be looking over his shoulder, and I don't know if that's what he needs right now. I think their goaltending situation, they did what they had to do, bringing in Casey DeSmith back.
Well, yeah, this is exactly what they did when they decided to keep Murray and trade Fleury. You go with the younger guy. And Tristan Jarry's 10 years younger than Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't think they ever seriously considered making a run at Fleury in the first place. I think that was kicked around by a lot of people. Maybe Alan Walsh threw that out there in a couple places, Fleury's agent.
And what,
to see
Pierre
if he
LeBrun just took that bait? You're questioning the credibility of the guy that works with Josh, so be careful,
I'm
Chris.
sorry. Tell Pierre I'm sorry.
I'll send my regards.
Okay, thank
Continue,
you.
please.
And Elliot Friedman.
But you're not telling me I'm wrong, which is important, that Alan Walsh may have done something like that. Exactly. So here's the thing. I don't think Fleury coming back to Pittsburgh was ever a real thing that Ron Hextall was interested in. I do think even if it had presented itself as an option, you had to pull the trigger on that before you re-signed Casey DeSmith, and you would have had to trade Tristan Jarry then.
Yep.
That would have made the most sense, because now you're talking about bringing some of those prospects back or draft picks back for a younger player, and you go with Fleury for a year or two, whatever the contract may have been. DeSmith is the backup, but I think that's more than Ron Hextall is willing to. I mean, he's trying to get Evgeny Malkin under contract and then figure out his cap situation. Hextall doesn't strike me as the spinning 1,000 plates at a time kind of guy like JR was.
Yeah, I am reminded of many years ago during something we called Yager Watch, when I was talking with Ray Shero, and Ray Shero said, you know, I wasn't a Penguin fan in 1991. I don't have any romance toward this guy. Like, I know the fans want him back. It's not that simple for me, and that's how I feel about Fleury, really, with Ron Hextall. Fleury was traded away for nothing last season in the offseason, just a salary dump by Vegas, essentially, to Chicago. The Penguins at that point really showed no interest in him, and he was making $7 million a year then, so they really couldn't fit him in anyway. I just don't think Hextall's interested, and one thing that, you know, Ron doesn't always make himself very visible and let you know what the plan is very often, but one thing he's been very transparent about, he likes Tristan Jarry a lot. They've said for a year now, he's the guy. We know he was terrible against the Islanders 2 years ago. He's the guy. We trust him. I think if you bring Fleury in, it'd be nice for regular season point total, sure, to have one of those guys playing every night. I don't know if it's a healthy situation for Jarry, though, is it?
No, it's not. But it's a healthy situation for him now, because you hit the nail on the head when you tweeted this when he signed. Casey DeSmith works cheap because he doesn't win when it counts. Why would you want a 30-year-old goaltender that has zero resume when it comes to postseason success? His numbers in the regular season are fine. They're perfectly all right for a backup goaltender. My issue with the Penguins' goaltending now going into the season is there's still, in my opinion, no plan B. There's not a goaltender that they have on their roster that gives me confidence that you have a goaltending edge when you go into a playoff series. For the same amount of money, if they wanted to, they could have gotten Holtby or Martin Jones or one of these guys who could play 25, 30 games and say, you know what? Say what you will about where that guy's at in his career right now, but he's been in a Game 7 before, and he's won. And I can't say that about DeSmith. He's just a guy to me. But this is a completely
different situation if DeSmith stays healthy. If DeSmith stays healthy,
they win the
Rangers series.
I don't know about that. I still don't trust him.
They win the Rangers series.
I'm with Pony. You don't know.
There's nothing about his resume that suggests to me that he can be a big-time player in a big moment.
Look at his last 17 games, 18 games of the regular season last year. He had some of the best numbers in the league. He had Shesterkin-level numbers. And so I think that's what gave Ron Hextall the impetus to say, okay, not only do I believe in Jarry, but I'll bring DeSmith back as my number 2 and forget all this Fleury nonsense or looking somewhere else for another number 2. I know these guys. I've seen what these guys can do. And by God, if just one of them had been healthy and we hadn't put spicy pork and broccoli between the pipes for 5 games,
I'd rather have a Vokun type behind Jarry, that's all.
But it's still about Jarry in the end, guys. In some ways, he's the most compelling guy on the roster to me. He had the horrendous playoff series. He gets one chance, Game 7, Madison Square Garden, and he's limping after the game. You feel for him. He never really had a chance to show what he could do in the playoffs again. You know that still eats away at him, and yet he's been to 2 All-Star games in 3 years. The kid has talent, and Ron Hextall, he absolutely believes in him, for better or worse.
All right. We're going to take a break. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Pitt. What happens to the Panthers? Do they get left out in this new realignment of college football? Stay right there.